I love looking into our healing collective. And what I see is so very interesting. I'm seeing a healing for long periods in history where certain groups conquered other groups. You know, if we look at, for instance, back in like the 16, 17, 1800s, when conquering groups would come in and they would bring diseases, you know, to people of another continent, so that those people hadn't built up antigens, and they hadn't built up an immune ability to defend themselves against those illnesses like smallpox. This is what I'm seeing. We're doing a healing for these events. It's not so very unlike, when the child falls ill on the parent's karma. It's not so much unlike that. But there is a collective choice. But there's also like a collective wound that's left from these events. And this is what we're addressing. We're using ourselves, our little healing collective, which is like about 100 people. We're putting ourselves together, having just received this download and stabilized it and healed ourselves as children. And now we're able to leverage that skill, which we've just created. It's like upgrading your immune system, right? Your immune system deals with something, and then it's like, okay, now I can deal with that. Now what's happening is it's turning around and being offered out to the collective. And it really, in many ways, it is the same thing. That the tribal peoples were living very close to natural law, living in a very kind of rich spiritual traditions. And so they were there was a lot of purity there. In some ways, there was a lot of purity. Maybe other ways, not so much. It's clearing. Again, I'm feeling a big activation in the solar plexus area, the physiology. We can think of that as our power center. So the power center of our collective, our healing collective, is able to address the use of biochemical warfare. This is how we heal ourselves, and this is how we set the stage for our world to evolve out of the mess that it's in. We have to go back and heal the messes that were made centuries ago and have been left and are still messes today. So that's why we're doing this. You think, now wait a minute, wasn't this about the immune system? But the thing is that it all ties together, and it's very important. The work that we do in these energy healing webinars is far and beyond just the healings that we do for ourselves. And you all know that as we do this work, it shifts our personal karma as well. So in the overall, the upgrade for the immune system is still served by healing, starting with the oldest known events. And I can go back, and we can go back and check the annals of history, but we're going back at least until the time of Genghis Khan to heal the damage. We're doing damage control, essentially, which is what that, let's see, that's what the third section of our immune system does, right? Last night we worked a lot with the first two sections, the one that just deflects negativity and the one that goes in and finds out what's going on. But now we're looking at the last one. We're really working with this last and third section of our immune capacity, which is to when a problem has already cropped up. And obviously this one cropped up a long time ago at a culture, at a sort of collective level of our world consciousness. It is being identified. There's some more clarity is coming in on it. We're having to do a big clearing of malevolent and exploitative, I'd say sinister intent. And we're separating, we're quarantining those darker energies, those malevolent energies. From the structures of self, which are divine, such as the physical form. We're helping see part of the reason that it hasn't been cleaned up energetically over all these centuries is when people look into those fine structures of creation, it just looks like a big mess. It looks like a big foggy field or something. And what happens is the energies, which like the malevolent energies, that sinister intent, did I use that word? Something like that. When it goes in, it's designed to self-perpetuate. It wants to live, it wants to do its thing, it wants to create or wreak whatever havoc it can wreak on our world. And so as a result, it camouflages itself. It fools us. And it will yoke itself to something substantial and basic, of which we cannot separate, such as our physical forms. Then we start to be resentful about our bodies and find fault in our bodies and look with judgment and so forth on that which is actually divine in nature. This is shifting. We're shifting out the illusion from the truth. And we're also allowing nature, allowing our divine level of self, that deep silent source of creation, to bring in the interference patterns that are necessary to balance the malevolent energies that are part of this picture. And those malevolent energies are based on greed, essentially. Mostly greed, I think, lust for power, greed and lust for power, those two. Fear, there's a lot of fear, but the fear is part of the illusory element. So those, that idea of lack, like the idea of, I'm not going to have enough unless I take something from the next guy, right? No. So it doesn't have to. Infinite. There's infinite potential and infinite good in creation. Just letting the energy move. The energy's moving deep, deep up from the earth. And I'm feeling a kind of an upward flow, an upward rising of pure or sattvic energy. Sattvic, that means pure, rising up from in the earth. That means it's coming originally from a source of infinity in the center of creation, the center of our universe. And it's coming up through our bodies. It's engaging with our bodies' energy field, but it's also engaging, it's communicating a lot of wisdom to our bodies physically as well.